Hey guys, Chris Chabre's Hot Rod and Fab. Thanks for joining me. You know, up until the late 50s, there wasn't much of an aftermarket wheel industry. If you had a race car, you most likely ran Halibrin wheels that were made out of magnesium. If you had a sports car, you probably had hand-laced wire wheels on it. If you had a custom car, though, you were most likely running a steel wheel with some sort of hubcap. You know, the Cadillac Sombrero or Dodge Lancer and Olds Fiesta hubcap were popular with everybody. You name it, people ran them. Other guys were turning to the aftermarket, such as Moon or the J.C. Whitney catalog, and buying aftermarket hubcaps. Yet a third group of guys were taking a stock hubcap like this 1954, hubcap I bought 20 years ago, and hammer and dollying the insignia out of it to take a stock cap and give it a truly custom look. That's what we're gonna do today, guys. Let's get to work. I don't know if you can see that. Obviously, there's more work to be done, but we're starting to get rid of those letters. I got a little bit of cleanup to do before we have a final product, but it's getting there. couple dents that were there before I nicked the bullet. But the Ford is pretty much gone. Now it's time to just do final blocking and, you know, some hammer and dolly work. There's a dent here that I put in it. And see where it goes. Alright guys, so somewhere around the 45-minute mark I lost the camera. You didn't miss anything. I was just doing more hammer and dolly work, more sanding. And then at that point, when I was comfortable with the first insignia, I swapped over to the second one, started all over again. Hammer, dolly, throw some black ink on it, sand it off, evaluate where it needed more work, where it needed some hammer work to knock some highs, some lows, whatever it needed. It's been a few hours now. This obviously would have gone faster if I had a planishing hammer, but my goal here was to show you guys you could do a job like this without a fancy planishing hammer or without any kind of fancy tools. I literally used a hammer, a couple dollies, a sanding block, a black Sharpie, and an orbital sander that I bought at, I believe Home Depot. My sandpaper comes from Fastenal. I used 60, 80, 120, 240. I went up to 320, and then I went to red Scotch-Brite and brown Scotch-Brite. I prefer to finish with brown Scotch-Brite. It leaves a nice smooth finish, and it just kind of evens any of the metal out. Now, at this point in time, if it were to be painted, we could sandblast and take it to high build primer. Shouldn't be any plastic filler in it at all. Now, if we're going to chrome it, I would take and keep metal finishing it from here on out. But at this point, I don't want to take it any further because if I'm using it for mock-up, I don't want a perfect part that could get marred up. I already spent the time to make it perfect and then have something happen to it. So at this point, I stopped. I basically called it good, and we'll reevaluate from there on out. Here's a stock 1950 hubcap. It weathered 70 years as a design, and it looks pretty good. A little bit of time and labor, some hammer and dolly work, and we got something that looks completely fresh in 2020. Now, as I said, if I'm going to paint it, it's ready for high build primer. If I'm going to chrome it, I'm going to pop it back off, sit back at my bench, do some hammer and dolly work, some more sanding, some more blocking, just to make it perfect. But at this point in time, you don't want to take it to that point just when it's going to be used as a mock-up piece. So at this point, like I said, we called it quits. We got a cool piece for no real money. This is something you guys can do without any fancy tools, and give something a completely one-off custom look and not break the bank. It also gives you a chance to practice your metal finishing on a part that you can literally throw in a backpack and go sit in the woods, or your lunch break at work, whatever. You could take it with you and accomplish something really cool. So today's video was inspired by a book called Custom Land, the photography of James Potter from 1955 to 1959. It was penned by Tom Taylor. It's one of many in my library on early custom cars, and in my opinion is a must-own for reference material of that era. All right, guys, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you on the next one.